Welcome to the Chalhoub Group podcast series, and today we're going to focus on culture. The purpose of this podcast is to give you a little bit of background about the journey that we have started within the group, and hearing a little bit about the detail of where we want to go in 2021 and beyond. I'm Louisa Clarke, the Group Head of People, and today I've got with me two of my colleagues, Joseph Sabbagh and Joseph Ibrahim, who have been very much part of the culture project today. Let me introduce my colleagues.
Well, I'm Joseph Sabbagh, heading stores operation in the group. I've been in the group since 25 years and probably I've experienced all the transformation of the group since 1994, and I'm enjoying really all the values that the group has.
Thanks, Lou. Good morning. I'm Joseph Ibrahim in the group since 8 years, leading one of the beauty sub-vertical, and also proud to be one of the servant leadership stream, along with Lou and many other colleagues.
Thank you, guys. I think culture is something which is interpreted differently by different people. And one of the definitions of culture which has always stayed with me is an analogy that culture is like the wind. It's invisible and we can't feel it. But when it's blowing in our direction, we're all more successful and we move quicker. And when it's blowing against us, things just feel difficult. Joseph, what is your interpretation of culture? And what do you think is the impact that culture can have in the group?
Well, culture is embedded in everything we do. It should be part of our DNA as a group, in everything we do, in our acts, leading by examples, but also understanding what's the culture of the group is and live it and live our values as well. And not only that, encourage all our people to embed it, to embrace it, and to make sure that it's really adopted and well adopted. For me, culture is part of everything we do.
For me, I would say that the day will reach where we say that we're really living our culture is that when we feel that the culture is like when we smell a flower. So it comes on its own without any effort, without looking at our procedure. So we have this self-discipline, we have this feeling that we're really doing the right thing, preaching the right thing, managing in the right way. So when we feel that we're living this every day when we come to the office, even at home, so this is the day where we say that we have a strong culture. For sure, the group has been here for 60 years. We have built a lot on our previous culture, but we need to keep probably moving with the technology, moving with the transformation to be able to have a culture that will really take us for the coming 60, 100, 200 years ahead.
Thank you, Joe. And one of the culture streams that we are working on, and Joe, you and I have worked very closely on in 2020, is a leadership philosophy that we're adopting in the group called servant leadership. Joe, could you say a little bit about what servant leadership is and the role you think that our leaders play in defining the culture?
Servant leadership is really a mindset and a behavior that is probably born with the person, but it needs a lot of practice, a lot of role modeling, a lot of walk the talk to be able to say, I'm a true servant leadership. And it's not as easy as the definition is. Servant is to serve people and not to be served, and leadership is, of course, the greatest skill in any business or personal matter. So historically, the group was always built on a top-to-down approach, meaning that the manager gives his word, gives his instruction, police sometimes the employee, police the organization. And of course, I'm not saying that this was wrong, and this is again what brought us here from 60 years ago. But what we need to do and achieve in servant leadership is make the manager or the leader serve his team and not the other way around, and be a genuine and a true servant leadership, meaning that he feels with his team. He's really, his success will be built on how much or how many success stories or success people are in his team. It's not from me, you serve me, it's more from me and I serve you. So it's one for the team and then not the team for one.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we've spoken about in the past is raising awareness about when leadership starts. And I think leadership starts the minute that you have an impact on others, or you have accountability for the growth and the engagement and the motivation of team members. And that starts really quite far down the organisation. I think one thing that we want to do as this culture transformation is ensure that we hold all line managers accountable for the impact that they're having on their team, and help them and guide them to think about themselves not just as bosses, but more as coaches and as mentors. One of the things that also came out of our culture survey was the need for regional inclusion. And Joseph, I don't know if you could maybe just say a few words about how you feel regional inclusion is going to support us going forward, and what we need to do to ensure that it becomes a reality.
Well, definitely. Since the headquarters came and was based in Dubai, we had always the perception that we are very much Dubai-centric and the voice of the country is not heard. So we had really, the mission of the stream was exactly to promote this new mindset and make sure that the voice of the country is heard and the voice of our employee is heard. So the whole thing was really to clarify our processes and make sure that they make sense as well for the country. And in case any process that really need to adapt it to the local operational need, so we do whatever it takes to make sure that this is done. And not only that, promote this one team, one culture mindset and make sure that the voice of our employee is heard by encouraging our leaders to encourage the employees in the country to talk and to participate with them in their idea and make sure that every single idea that they propose is valued and is heard. This is the most important in terms of regional inclusion, to make everyone participate. It's about inclusion, it's about clarity in everything we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think HR plays a big role in ensuring that our processes
Definitely
support that regional inclusion, thinking about how we approach performance management, how we approach succession planning, internal mobility, and ensuring that individuals get equal opportunities regardless of the geography that they sit within.
And the exercise done on the job family, on the clarity of everything is very important, because everyone become accountable for what they have done, no matter what they are based. If they are based in Dubai, if they are based in KSA, which is a very important operation for the group. So it has to make sense for everyone, and everyone should understand their role in this ecosystem that we are building.
And one of our other culture streams is focused on collaboration. And I always think that has a close connection with regional inclusion, how we collaborate across the business. I wonder if you've seen in 2020 some approaches that have really supported further collaboration across the group, especially given the year that we had last year.
Yeah, definitely. COVID was the biggest example, and you can't believe how everyone was really collaborating with each other and sharing practices, understanding the protocol of each country, getting to learn what other countries have done, what Dubai have done, and make sure that we have certain consistency across the board. And the engagement that even the country manager had to keep the momentum and to make sure that the safety of our staff is really secured at all levels, in every working place, in warehouses, in the offices, in the stores during the lockdown and after the lockdown. It was really amazing. I would say it was great to see this engagement and the collaboration of everyone in making sure that there is a clarity in the way we protect our people.
Also, Lou, during this pandemic, I believe that the human of Chalhoub was shown more than the employee or managers of Chalhoub. So, and this is also going back to servant leadership. We've seen our frontliner sometimes leaving their homes, leaving their kids behind, and going and volunteer to the warehouse to make sure that we continue on serving people despite the risk and security of their own health. I believe that we've seen all our top management, middle management, frontline being responsible, and this is because of the human touch of the group, and this is something we should be all proud about it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that human touch you would hope is is in every organisation, but 2020 was a year where we all went through something quite personal while trying to perform our roles and what was expected of us at work. And I think one thing which you hear more and more about is empathy as a core behaviour that is going to be more and more important to all organisations as we move to new ways of working. And Joseph, you and I have been working closely this year on looking at what are the behaviours that we feel will drive success in the business going forward. Could you say a few words about our behaviours for success and the role that they now play in our cultural transformation?
Basically, this was a key rock, I would say, or a key pillar in the servant leadership stream that you and I had worked on it along with the top management and other colleagues. And I would say that the behavior for success are the much needed behavior and the much needed walk the talk that will give everyone a true roadmap, a true path to success. These are called success drivers. So, and once we know and we are sure that these behaviors are already natural in us, are coming like a smell of the flower, so at least we are sure that we are on the right track, that our culture is becoming stronger and stronger, that we can attract more talent from the outside, we can attract and we can, retain our talents, we can retain all our people, because the culture is also about making our employees satisfied, happy, but also saying to the external world that Chalhoub is the right place to work, is the right place to grow your career, is the right place to meet with excellent people, wonderful leaders, and have fun at the end.
And our behaviours for success are now going to be the core focus when we hire, when we assess, and we performance manage, so that we can ensure there's a consistency and transparency about how we manage our people. And our behaviours for success will very shortly be communicated further and reinforced through the One Team, One Culture training campaign, which we will be running throughout the first half of the year. One of the things which is also a core focus in the cultural transformation is diversity and inclusion. And it supports the behaviours that we want to see in the business. But Joseph, what does diversity and inclusion mean for you? And what do you think we need to do to ensure this is a consideration in all decision-making that we have across the group?
One of the key initiatives that has been done in this is really to promote the code of ethics and bring clarity to the code of ethics in our group, which is really a pillar in everything we do. Without really having a certain working ethics, it wouldn't make sense for everyone. And what the work done by diversity and inclusion stream was exactly to bring clarity on this code of ethics. What does it mean? Put the right processes for it. We have the platform we launched last year, maybe the Speak Up platform, and it's where we felt that the employees start sharing their ideas and start sharing their concern. And you can't believe how much the management is engaged to hear every single complaint coming from the employees, and that's really matters for every employee working in the group. This is how diversity inclusion play a very important role in developing the One Team, One Culture process in the group. And this was really amazing. The results have been done last year, achieved. I don't know, we had probably 30 workshops across the region in ethics, and the participation of the employee was really impressive, how much they have been engaged to understand what the code of ethics means. The management was very engaged as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know in 2021 we have some very targeted campaigns to support certain areas of diversity and inclusion. For example, thinking about women in leadership. How do we ensure that at the top of our organisation we have a fair representation when it comes to gender, when it comes to nationality, and ensuring also that we have the right data and analytics to be making decisions that are in line with the diversity and inclusion that we want to have within the group. When it comes to our values, they have always been extremely strong within the group. And as an individual who very often is interviewing future candidates from the group, it's one thing that I think the Chalhoub group is known for, the values and the culture that we create, which are very much still rooted in this family mentality, that we are a family-led community. Could you say a little bit about the values and how they remain strong within the group, and how we have used the values as the core component that we've built upon when we think about culture going forward?
Well, the values are the pillars of the organization. And I believe that the group has worked a lot, and I believe that the values were well thought, because if you think about each word, it really means the world. And then the work that we have done together about servant leadership and the way we have defined our new behavior for success was to look at our three values and imagine them in the middle of everything we do. And we have built our 10 behavioral for success around each value. And this is how we are linking our behavior, the way we act, the way we speak, rooted back to our values, and imagine our values in everything we do.
Absolutely. And I think our role as leaders is to make sure that we can tell the story about how our values, our behaviours, our employee value proposition, and our new guiding principles all come together. Because there's a lot of different concepts, but I think core to all of them is the values. The values feel like the building blocks on which we have built our culture campaign. Going forward in 2021, how do you think we can learn from the experience that we had during the COVID crisis to support and maybe accelerate cultural transformation?
COVID was a huge transformation to the world, and unfortunately, it's not over yet. I believe the solidarity and the putting the ego aside, looking in a genuine and in a pragmatic way is the way forward. I believe also that once these behavioral for success are executed, let's not please take it as a homework to do once a year or twice a year. Let's make it as a pleasure exercise to do. Let's make it with ourselves and our colleague as a way to give feedback, to receive feedback, looking at the outside world and looking at what's happening with our families, with our parents, and bring a little bit of genuinity to everything we say, putting the ego aside. And again, going back to the dearest topic of my heart, which is servant leadership, act with a true servant leadership mindset and approach.
Absolutely. And I think one of the silver linings of the COVID crisis was an acceptance in the group of remote working and flexible working practices for those roles where it was appropriate. And I wonder if one of the lessons certainly that I've observed is the need for trust, is the need for clarity when you have a new way of working. And I think this is something we need to roll into 2021, ensuring there is role clarity. That is going to ensure that there's a culture where people know what is expected of them, and support that with the new Job Family project we've launched and with performance management. Joseph, you are our subject matter expert when it comes to retail operations. What do you think we can expect in 2021 in terms of new ways of working or new ways of thinking that will support culture change and support efficiencies?
Well, definitely there is a lot of learning that has been done in the past, and we want really to continue doing them and better improving them if possible, because the COVID and all what happened last year will continue, and there is a new norm of doing things in everything we do. So we need to consider everything and every single details in terms of stores operations, because this will be, if we are able to build this solid, I would say, protocols, compliances in the stores, we will be able to give more sustainability to our business. We all remember the hard time where we really had to go through lockdown. As my colleague Joseph just said, every employee was engaged. We've seen, for example, our staffs working on one brand, delivering orders of other brands. So when we look at our processes in terms of stores, we want that every single employee is able to perform other people's duty in the stores. And this is what we have seen. We have seen people engage in everything. We have seen people going to the warehouse, doing the job of warehouse people. We have seen also the warehouse people, when coming to the stores, they abide by the rules of the store's operations and by the regulation and compliances to make sure that that they don't infect, for example, or let's keep the standard safety in the stores. And it's exactly what is really important in our process when you said we need to bring clarity on everything we do. In stores operation, we had very good result when we had to close 500 stores and suddenly open them at the last minute. So we had to prepare this reopening in the stores in a very systematic and very solid way. And the way we see our people complying with everything we put in terms of protocol, it was amazing. And we could come back to the business in a very smooth way and kick off all the operation in few days, I would say.
And I think you used that word earlier, solidarity, and I think we really saw that in 2020 from our people. I think in 2020, we have started a movement, a cultural movement, and I think 2021 is about raising awareness and asking people to go on that journey with us. We said earlier on in our discussion that culture is defined top-down and the role that leaders play. But I think we need to ensure that everybody is part of this movement and everybody is supporting us and ensuring that the way that we work and how it feels within our teams is something that we're really proud of. And this is something that we're going to start with the One Team, One Culture learning campaign, which everybody will be asked to complete so that we really can ensure that we are one team, one culture for the rest of 2021. Thank you for joining us today on our Culture podcast. You can stay connected on what's happening on the Culture campaign through the One Team, One Culture training, which will be rolled out throughout the next few months. Stay connected for more of our podcasts to learn more about what's happening within the group.